It's time to rock and roll!
I like to pretend it's morning whenever people listen to this for their
Mm,
drives. It's not always
okay.
morning. I know that.
breaking the
But I want to
illusion.
tell everyone listening or watching this on YouTube, don't watch and drive though. Don't watch and drive. Listen and drive.
I
Watch when
would
you get
hope
home.
not. Yeah.
Good
Please
morning,
don't.
everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. Episode number 155, 155. Gene, my co-host. I, as Diego Crespo, the other host of this podcast. We've been doing this for basically 10 years now. How are
Basically,
you feeling?
basically feeling pretty good despite everything else. But yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, just trying to stay cool right now.
Okay, yeah. Why, despite what else is happening in our great city of Los Angeles, which is not a war zone?
Oh,
I just want to clarify.
yeah.
We're
I don't
not
know.
here to talk about that specifically, but
I don't
um,
know.
and I don't want to take away from our amazing guest today or anything like that. But I will say, yes, our city's not a war zone. It is people standing up for human rights and
Absolutely.
not being kidnapped
Yes.
by the government. So
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the entire county, frankly, because everyone's coming to fucking show up. So thank you, everyone. But speaking of people that show up and are very good friends and supporters of just other people in the world, basically, Charles A. Piper.
Hello.
Charles, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And yeah, much love to LA. It's been nice to see the response. It's the first time since I moved away that I wish I was there just to be a little bit more involved. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were such a great like I've been wanting to get you on for a while. First,
Mm.
I'm always too anxious to ask people to come on. And then you were booked and busy. You got a movie last year.
It's been
You
chaotic, yeah.
It's been chaotic, but
Yeah.
I've read other of your work as well, and I know you are remarkably talented.
Oh, thank you.
You have such a clear passion for cinema in all its various forms.
I do.
Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about yourself. What is your origin
Oh
story?
man, my origin story is I was born to theater people who were very creative and weird in their own right. My mom was a classically trained ballerina turned stage performer director who met my dad in the theater because he was a set designer.
Hmm.
They weren't horror or monstery, but they were creative. And I came along, and for whatever reason, I was into monsters from day one, and they let me be. So they supported my interests, and so I kind of crystallized into filmmaking and horror specifically around the age of 6 or 7. The earliest horror comedy I made was with my parents in our living room on their VHS camera. It was called Murders at the Halloween Hotel. You can find a bit of it on my Vimeo, Deep in the Depths, and there are gifs of that and its sequel, Return to the Halloween Hotel, that get used by thousands of people across the internet right now because I got verified on Giphy, which means my GIFs show up in any GIF search engine across any platform. So that'll be the most immortal I ever am is through these GIFs of my childhood videos. Love it. And yeah, and I guess the rest is history. I stayed the course and continued being into horror in film and studied film and animation in college. And now, yeah, I work in horror and I write and I also work in stop motion animation and I kind of hop between the two forms of film and try to involve a little bit of everything and everything. I love your
Yeah,
origin. Oh, I
no,
was just
you
gonna
go ahead,
say,
Gene. You because you don't know Charles that well.
yeah, no, I said I love because yeah, I think we only talked at the screening for Destroy All Neighbors at Beyond Fest, but Yeah. yeah, yeah, I know of the VHS origin because it's like it by when we were growing up, yeah, we just had digital, so you know, Yeah, I go back a little bit more, but it's been good. And yeah, that premiere night was so chaotic and overwhelming. The whole thing is a blur to me. I mostly remember being mad that I wasn't introduced to Weird Al oh because he was no, there, and there was all sorts of. It was a chaotic night. My parents flew in from New Jersey to be there. I was there with my then new girlfriend, and that was also a whole thing that didn't last too long. So that kind of was interesting. But yeah, I mostly that night was terrifying to me, and I didn't think the sound of the film was good in the theater, and I was worried that the actual film sounded poorly, and it wasn't the case. It was just that theater, or just honestly my nerves, because it was over a decade leading up to that moment for me. So it was a very, and I had not seen the final cut until that night in its entirety.
Oh
So it
wow.
was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. No, no, it came together well. I mean,
Thank you.
I still have a very clear memory of seeing that film last year already. But
Yeah.
no, I still enjoy it. Anything with Jonah Ray is great. So
He's a great guy. Yeah, we were glad
yeah,
to have him. He was the first actor who attached to the project about 7, 8 years ago. And he just wasn't big enough for us to get funding. And that's why it took almost a decade after that to get it made. We had
yeah,
him right before he got onto the Netflix seasons of MST3K.
yeah,
And then even with that, no, none of the money or big wigs or what have you gave a shit. So we just kept trucking.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it paid off wonderfully
Mhm.
because I told you then, I told you since, and I'll tell you again. I really love Destroy All Neighbors. It made it on my top best
Yeah,
movies of 2024, and
Yeah. There were
I
dozens of you. Thank you. Yes.
yeah, it's it really was a very special movie. I think it spoke to something that I think any creative person maybe feels about like like oh putting something off because maybe it's not ready yet and it's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
and our
yeah,
own insecurities or our brains attacking
Mhm.
ourselves basically in the creative
Precisely.
process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you're a creative person and you watch this, you get it. If you're not inherently creative, you might think it's extremely annoying and hate the main character. And that's been the split in terms of reviews, because I get a kick. I'll look at Letterboxd every now and again and just read through new reviews. I've been trying to get films made for so long. I have a thick skin. It takes a lot to upset me. When I was younger, it was easier. But now I'll see like a 1 star review of it and then a 4 star review, and it's for the same reasons. So it's just, you know,
yeah. It's film is subjective.
uh-huh,
People forget subjective.
extremely. Yeah.
But yeah, reading letterbox reviews are always fun too, like on something you worked on, because it's just
It's
like, yeah,
wild. And especially sometimes you'll get a review from someone and you're like, oh, they're 15. Oh, God. Wow. You know what I mean? And then
yeah,
sometimes you'll be like, oh, this is the crankiest middle-aged man and he's upset for very different but serious reasons. It's interesting. Yeah, I
yeah.
think right now we're at like it's wild, like just hundreds and hundreds of views. Like, it was on Shutter, like a good people got to see it. It was in theaters even for a bit.
Mhm.
So that was cool too. But yeah, it's been wild.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun ride, I can imagine. But yeah. Um, any like inspirations that you have? Because yeah, I mean, I could maybe guess a few just from seeing Destroy All Neighbors, but yeah, just to hear from you.
Sure. I mean, I started focused more in stop motion animation when I first moved to LA back in 2009. I was trying to be a stop motion animator, and that didn't work out and made me reshift towards live action and all these other things. But I love stop motion. It was written into the very first draft of Destroy All Neighbors that I wrote over a decade ago. That it began with a stop motion animated intro credit sequence moving through intestines, through meat, and we ended up with a version of that all these years later, which was fantastic. But yeah, animation, stop motion. Jan Svankmajer is a huge inspiration to
Hmm.
me. I love the kind of Eastern European, Czech surrealist cinema and the way they're able to get things past political censors with metaphorical visuals and imagery is beautiful. Of course, before that, Harryhausen or even Aardman, Wallace and Gromit, growing up on all that was great. Mostly, I'm inspired by people named David. David Cronenberg, David Byrne, David Lynch. My oldest, closest friend from childhood's also named David.
It's a good name.
Yeah, there's something about the Davids, but no, but it was interesting. I was into horror as such a young kid. I was watching horror movies before I understood the concept of death, or before I understood that violence was an actual thing. And once I did find that out, it really threw me for a loop and made me move away from horror for a bit into film in general. And then I kind of came back to it. But as I've grown older and with just, I've had several near-death medical experiences over the past, oh my God, like 15 to 18 years off and on that have really made me feel even more akin or relate to Cronenberg or body horror, or psychological horror, and my scripts reflect that, even with Destroy All Neighbors, which ended up even funnier than the initial thing. There are two other writers who were brought on per the request of the two lead actors to move it around, and the final version was the synthesis of the three of us. But yeah, my scripts tend to be either very bleak or very funny because that's sort of how I view life and how I felt treated by existence. Let's
Hmm.
put it that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Would you feel comfortable talking a little bit more about
Sure.
that? I don't want
Yeah.
to
Yeah, no,
turn
no,
over stones or anything.
no, 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 I wouldn't bring it up if I wasn't. But a couple months after Destroy All Neighbors came out, honestly, it was maybe a month after you took that photo shoot of me at Angel City Brewery,
Oh
which
yeah, yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Something went wrong with my stomach, and I spent most of last year nearly dying, and I lost 35 pounds at my lowest point, and I wanted to die, and the pain was brutal. I couldn't focus on writing because of the pain. I didn't write a single word of a screenplay. Pretty much, I thought I was dying, and I genuinely was close to death. And an unscrupulous dietitian gave me bad advice, which made me get even closer to death. I was on the brink of it. And if it weren't for my parents flying in and doing a 2 week long food intervention with me, I probably would have died or killed myself, to be honest, because the pain was so bad. So that was probably the latest horrible thing. It's been very good to be able to eat normally and gain the weight back and have a life again. But then earlier, when I was 20, turning 21, I had another horrible doctor. I had this dermatologist I saw who inadvertently overdosed me on Accutane, which is the heavy duty skin medication. And my hair started falling out. My stomach started to shut down then from the stress. I was still in college. I barely made it out to LA. Like, yeah, my whole 20s off and on into my young adulthood were like, it was ruinous. And it was, oh God, it was just awful. And yeah, I have a script based off that
Mhm.
called Dermis, which I don't think it'll ever get made, but were it to, the kind of the pitch or the elevator joke is, imagine all your worst experiences socially of freshman year of college mixed with David Cronenberg's The Fly. So that's a fun romp for the whole family
Yeah.
right there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this is something I like about horror is you can take things that aren't controllable in life and transmute them into stories or things where you take back control. And hopefully, I mean, even with Destroy All Neighbors, that was based off a nightmarish situation I was in over a decade ago with an insane neighbor who moved into my apartment complex and had loud parties and coke fueled orgies. He installed a stripper's pole in the living room for all the prostitutes he was bringing back home, and it was a nightmare. And it was terrifying. And I'm a light sleeper, and I could hear him through the walls. And I never called the cops on him because I don't like the cops, but also he was insane and we
Yeah.
shared walls. All it took would be one stray bullet from a gun of his and I could have been killed. Uh, so yeah, I started writing that as a way to kind of kill him on the page and
Not in real life.
not in real life. So yeah,
Yeah.
all my scripts are some sort of alchemical or metaphorical exploration of extreme circumstances in my life, whether they're lived or just deeply felt.
Well, I
So.
think that's the beautiful thing about you as a person and you as an artist, because reading stuff like Finch, which I don't know if can I
It
bring it
ended
up
up,
or
yeah, no, yeah. It ended up being called, that was a comedy script I wrote that was about David Fincher making Alien 3. It evolved into being called Alien versus Fincher. And it was my spoof of the biopic. Because the true story of how nightmarish Alien 3 was is so well
Mhm.
documented. I decided, fuck it, let me make it a satire on the very concept of making movies and a screenplay. And it's insane, and there's no way it'll ever get made, especially now that all the Alien films are owned by Disney, because this is like a graphic R-rated spoof. This is insane stuff.
Hmm.
One of my
yeah.
favorite scripts I've ever written. Yeah,
No, it's really great, and
thank you.
I mean to take it back a little bit, I think we both bonded over our admiration of that finished film
Yeah,
in its own bizarre
absolutely.
ways.
And we're
You
big
know,
Alien 3 heads.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Three
definitely.
Defenders.
Yeah, absolutely. And but like the beauty of your work and your writing and what you like tap into, like I can see what maybe not exactly what you're going through, but I can see what you're expressing so clearly.
Mm.
And I think when people look at like something more, not to say that you handle extreme cinema, but like something that is quote unquote extreme, people see like,
I
you
get
know,
close to it. I want to get more extreme if anyone ever pays attention to me and gives me money to make a movie again. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it'll happen. With
Yeah.
Thank you.
with your high energy, I don't
I
doubt
do
it'll
have the
happen.
energy, that's true. And don't get me wrong, there are multiple projects percolating right now, which is exciting, but everything is slow and out of my control. But I'll say this, since moving to Tucson at the start of the year, I've written 3 or 4 new feature scripts and revised some others that are in possible pre-production overseas. So,
Cool.
Hey, well,
Looking,
congratulations.
yeah,
Ooh, have
congrats.
to bug you to hear more
mhm.
about those when you
Yeah,
can
there's
talk
not,
about them,
yeah,
of
yeah, we
course.
could talk more off the record. It's nothing I could say officially now, but
Yeah, of course, of course. Um,
it
but
would
yeah,
be awesome.
yeah,
We'll see.
I'm very excited to hear about them eventually. But I just think there's certain avenues I think we see like quote unquote extreme horror movies through. People see like you and I and Gene obviously Evil Dead 2. It's like, oh yeah, that's the best movie ever made, probably, you know. But it's like there's more avenues to explore with that sort of
Yes,
extremity. That's not just we love the funhouse horror stuff.
right.
It's a blast. We love going to like a theater that feels like a party.
Oh,
But you
Hmm.
know, it can
absolutely.
also
Yeah.
express human emotions and our insecurities and help
Yeah.
us go
That's
like
sort of,
develop these things.
yeah, that's sort of what I want to do is almost use like genre cinema as a sneak backdoor into actual emotions. And to a lesser extent, that's what I was trying to do 8, 9 years ago with my Malika Straka short, which also took half a decade to get off the ground because I wouldn't do it until I had enough money to pay people properly. And even so, I was barely able to do that because making movies are so expensive, even in short form in LA,
Yeah.
what with rent and insurance and all. But with
Mm.
that one, it was like tricking people into what seemed like just a gross exploitation film, then hitting home some heavier stuff. And there's a feature-length screenplay version of that. That again, I thought having a large-scale short film that went around the world and was on all these horror platforms would help getting the feature made or even looked at, which hasn't been the case now. But also, the pandemic happened and all these things. But no, I like the idea of being extreme and funny or silly, but there's real emotion there and surprising relatability, hopefully.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Alec Estraka, it's not that it's a one-to-one comparison, but you know, I definitely got like, oh, Eraserhead baby vibe, you
Hmm.
know, like that's what it reminded me of. But also, for the same reasons that movie is its own emotional, spiritual experience,
Right.
as the great late
I,
David Lynch described. I felt
yeah,
that with
yeah,
Alec Estraka, with
yeah.
the parenting aspect. Like
Hmm.
it's very clear to me.
Yeah. I was trying to exercise some of my deepest fears, which is, you know, being in a relationship with the wrong partner and being too afraid to say anything about it. And worst case scenario, that would lead to having a baby with someone that you don't want to be with or shouldn't be with, and you can't be there for the baby for whatever reason. And yeah, it was funny. It's such an intense. I remember when I was on the film fest circuit, I was lucky that I got laid off at a job about a month or two before the world premiere of that, and I got severance pay. So I had free time and was able to travel a little bit more. And there were times at film festivals where people were surprised that I made it because they had seen it before meeting me and that, oh, this must be made by like the bleakest, darkest shit in town. And I show up and I'm me, I'm very animated and goofy. And yeah, it gave people a lot of cognitive dissonance. And there were some people who are new fathers and it freaked the fuck out of them. And as it should, that's what I was going for. Yeah,
Yeah, if we're not making stuff to express anything or to like transmit an emotional conversation, you know, like what's the point, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Has to say something.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, but okay, so you got I know you got this the feature of Malika Straka, and would you consider doing more shorts, or at this stage of your career
so
you're
that's an
just you
interesting thing. I Malachus Straka took half a decade to get made, and then there was a 2 month long Indiegogo campaign that I mostly spearheaded myself because my two producers at the time dropped the ball heavily on helping me with it. And the amount of stress and anxiety that went into that we raised more money than I'd ever had myself, but not enough to shoot it at the time. And that put me into a horrible anxiety attack, depression, and once again I became physically ill from the exertion of that, which delayed the film about half a year. And I had to be very public and honest about people. Like we didn't get enough money. We got to reshoot or redo the whole budget. And then even with that, the only reason I was able to make it, and I believe in financial transparency because so many filmmakers, indie filmmakers don't, and they're like, just do it, just make it. With what money? Huh?
Uh,
I had a great aunt pass away who is way more financially canny than anyone in my family realized. And what she left behind for my parents and I not only helped my parents have the retirement that they deserve but wouldn't have had otherwise, but it gave me what any normal person would have used as an inheritance to live off for a while. And I put that into making Malakastraka, plus the like 20,000 or what have you that was from Indiegogo. And that's why the film is dedicated to her at the very, very end. But that took so long to make that when it was done, my two goals for that film was to get a Vimeo staff pick, because that was back in the days when it actually half mattered, and to get representation. Neither of those two things happened, and I won't lie, I was really pissed about that for quite some time. Again, I'm going to be emotionally honest, I have nothing to lose. I've moved past it, I don't have these chips on my shoulders.
No, no, please, yeah.
But I did at the time, I felt like it was not a failure because I felt like the film came out about 90% what I wanted it to. I thought the performances were great. The cinematography by Ava Shore was fantastic. Gabe Bartolos' puppets were great. Like, the film was a success in every way but how I wanted it personally, right? Does that make sense?
yeah.
And I was like, well, I felt like I was back to square one with now no more money to make anything, let alone another short. But I had become friendly with this writer who I met at Film Quest during the world premiere for Malakastraka. His name Kenny Wright, and we just hit it off because we sat together at the awards ceremony at the end, and neither of us, I think, won the awards we wanted to, and we were just like snarking about it. And so we became friendly, and he liked my directing style, so he gave me 3 short scripts and offered, "Do you want to direct one?" And I chose the one that was the least horrific because I wanted a challenge. So I chose this kind of bittersweet romantic thing about an older man in his 60s whose wife has died. It's called When We Dance. And it was another short. And we fundraised for that and pulled a lot of favors and made this short film that wasn't horror enough to get into any horror festivals that knew me and wasn't age demographic acceptable by any other film festival trying to skew younger. So it was like a fart in the wind. And then by the time it got into the handful of festivals that took it, they're all virtual because it was during the pandemic. So next to no one has seen that film. I'm proud of it because it shows me directing something not exactly just monsters and puppets, but that didn't move the needle in any direction again for me, creatively, financially, filmically. But some of the actors in it are actors I'm still in touch with and want to cast in some of the features I've written. But what I'm saying, long story short, is when Destroy All Neighbors came out, I was like, finally, here's a feature-length, theatrically released film with me as one of the named screenwriters. This is gonna help. And it helped me get a manager. Radio silence after that, if you catch my drift, in terms of the rest of the industry or anything. So now I'm in a new city with more creative energy, and this Tucson is an underutilized city filmically. It was built for cinema. Everything is 16:9 widescreen, deserts, 1 point perspective. You drive down a road, you can see for miles, and there's the cacti and the mountains and weird old buildings. So I don't want to put thousands and thousands of dollars, which I don't have anyway, into large scale shorts. But I kind of want to make some weird shorts just for the hell of it, even if they just end up on the virtual death trap that is Vimeo now, because it fucking sucks and it's a dying platform. And I'm going to say publicly, Vimeo, you fucked everyone. I hate the people in charge of Vimeo now. You've sold out. You've become a website for businesses and AI implementary videos. Are you kidding me? You still have like maybe a couple people doing the Vimeo staff picks. But if I was in Vimeo right now, I'd be the rat on the dying ship and I'd fuck it up from inside. You guys, your owners fucking suck and have destroyed what was a beautiful thing.
Got to bring the plate
I'm
to that
gonna
app.
applaud that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell
But-
yeah, Charlie.
So yeah, I mean, I also am trying to drum up a feature-length idea for something that could be shot here in Tucson. But all the things I'm writing, revising now are earlier projects or things not set here. They're set all over the place. Some are live action, some are stop motion animation features, possibly, or mix thereof. We can go into that more in a bit. I lost my train of thought. But long story short, I thought, oh, that's awesome. Hello, cat. I thought
Yeah.
I would never make a short film after Malakastraka. Malakastraka did nothing for me career-wise, so I made another short to prove I wasn't a one-trick pony director. That did nothing for me career-wise. Now I'm in a new city with still with my manager from LA, who pretty much what he's told me is you just got to go back to making small stuff you can do yourself because no one's buying anything, and I don't know how to market you, Charlie. Your writing's too weird. So thanks a lot. So yeah, stay tuned. Maybe I'll be making more short films, but I won't be doing fundraisers. God no.
It's not fun.
No,
It's
no, but
not
I
fun.
mean, you've got such a fucking wildly creative mind. I don't doubt you for a second. And if I could say about Tucson, because as
Hmm.
Gene and I visited a friend there
Yeah,
over a year ago now.
I think we
it's a
texted about
great,
this a little bit. Yeah,
great
Yeah,
Tucson's
city.
great. I
yeah,
love it
it's
here.
fantastic. And when our friend moved down there, like a year to no, a couple years
There you
prior
go.
now. Oh my
6 years
God.
ago.
Oh shit, it's been that long. That's fucking crazy. PJ, shout out PJ. But he was always telling me like, dude, you got the film scene down here. You can
Yeah,
do it's he said what you said, it's untapped potential.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I love my friend PJ. We love PJ. I was like, maybe he's just trying to get me down there. And then we're down there and I'm like,
It's here.
fucking
There's a lot of people
goddamn.
here. I become friendly with another. It's funny. I'm close friends now with a horror filmmaker named Rene Rivas, and he had shorts in the Film Quest and the horror circles at the same time as me, and we just kept being two ships in the night. He was at Film Quest, and so the head of Film Quest, Jonathan Martin, was like, "Charlie, you just moved to Tucson. You got to reach out to Rene." Not only does he live here, he lives across the street pretty much. We're in the same neighborhood, and so
Just walk over.
I've started meeting other film people, and yeah, once or twice a month they have Film Tucson film mixers. There's one next Tuesday that I'll go to, and I'm just, you know, I'm just open. I want to meet more filmmakers. I want to meet more creative energy. Yeah, I don't know. Let's go. Any other Tucsonians hearing this now, reach out.
Yeah, I feel like we'll probably have some people listening from Arizona.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, 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 no. PJ's got his crew too. So when he listens to this, I'm sure he'll
Cool.
spread the word. And I know you all go to the Loft Cinema as well.
It's
So
right
it's a
down the
great,
street.
great
Loft, yeah.
theater. Love that
We got
theater.
the Loft, we got Casa Video, which is an amazing video rental store plus bar with amazing popcorn.
yeah. Oh
And
yeah, yeah. That place rules.
they had a night where they showed Disrael Neighbors and all the TVs there, and I became friendly with the owner, and he let me do a little speech introduction beforehand. It was really nice.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a lovely theater. It's really fun. Hope to go back soon.
Yeah, really. I think the main thing stopping us right now is just employment. But
I
like,
understand.
but yeah, I
Well,
definitely
I got a
really
spare
want to go
room.
back.
I got a futon. You could crash here for cheap. Come on down anytime.
Oh,
Thank
Seriously.
you.
thank you very much. I
Thanks.
really
Yeah,
appreciate that, my friend.
the futon. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, you seem so like jovial, like you're glowing over there
Well,
right now.
I'll tell you, and I don't recommend it, but literally nearly dying, but getting over it, it kind of gives you literally a second lease on life.
Some perspective, I would imagine.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still grumpy and moody, but I remember how much worse I was before last year. And so it's like, I'm grumpy because I got some furniture debt and I'm trying to pay it off, and I'm delayed one payment from someone who said he'd pay me for this writing, and I just had a breakup. Then I'm like, well, last year I was a skeleton who couldn't eat. So, it's not as bad. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Let me say, because look, I understand some things give you like perspective in
yes, that's a
hindsight,
way to put it.
but knowing you and look, it's not like we hung out all the time, but we're friends, and
Yeah.
I never saw you. You never came across as like a grump for the
Oh,
record.
good.
So
Yeah, I
No,
think
no.
it's more of a rascal energy. When I was younger, I was maybe more angsty, or yeah, I don't know. No, that's a fair point. Yeah.
rascal energy is very appropriate, I think. But that's good.
Yeah.
People like rascals. We need more
Yeah.
rascals.
Yes, yes,
We
I
need we need
agree.
we need rascals with the stop motion obsession.
Well, that's me. That's me. I'll tell you what. And yeah, as I hinted at, one of these possible features would be a feature-length stop motion, which would
No.
be, oh, it'd be so cool. That's all I can say.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I'm not going to pry anything specific about it, but I will say, is it like a? Could use genre hop, but I will try to pigeonhole it a little bit. Is it like a scary stop motion?
it's not horror, but it's disturbing and dystopian in a alternate 20th century, mid-century gone wrong. This sounds like such an old, standard to go by, but kind of like Brazil. But
Hmm.
uh, yeah, it's bleak and it's metaphorical and it's very much fight the power. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Because my joke when you were starting to describe it was going to be like, oh, Mad God 2, you know?
It's
Yeah.
not that Hieronymus Bosch, if you
Oh
will,
yeah. I
Mm.
was gonna ask if you
but
saw that since you were
I've
a
seen it
stop.
in theaters 3 times, and at the
Nice.
world premiere of it, in the lead animator of the stop motion short I produced
Hmm.
during the pandemic, he was given the Phil Tippett Animation Award in person by Phil Tippett, and Phil Tippett is the
Wow.
reason Eric Oxford got into stop motion. So that was, yeah, it was at the oh god, not Altadena, but it's an island up in the bay, and they have a theater there.
Oh, shoot. Gene, what is it? You were up there. You were up there.
This was years ago, and my brain is mush. But it was at that film festival. It was beautiful
Okay.
theater. Yeah.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
that's
I'm drawing a
terrific.
blank on
Yeah.
where that would be.
Yeah. And I also saw the Beyond Fest premiere of Mad God, and Phil Tippett just happened to sit right in front of me, and I
Ooh.
could overhear him grumbling with annoyance throughout the screening because the file had the wrong sound mix or it wasn't fully finished, and he was like,
Uh,
"That's not right." It was wild.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? That's a feeling you shared with Phil Tippett then, because you had that whole thing with his Terrell neighbor. So look at
Yeah, that
that.
was insane.
The great minds.
Yeah, no, yeah. What Diego was referring to is we had a horrifically gone wrong special screening of Destroy All Neighbors up in San Francisco through a comedy festival there, and the wrong file was sent, and it kept glitching out, and then they were trying to stream it live from Shutter through the Wi-Fi of this old theater. It was called the Star Theater. It's where oh god, having a brain fart. But yeah, it had been there like 100 years. Used to be a vaudeville theater, and it got to a point where we just had to cancel the screening, and we all just went up on stage and just riffed with the audience, and it was
yeah.
insane. It was
But you
insane.
know what? That's what a great story that ends up
Hmm.
being.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I got to riff on stage with Tom Lennon, like it was nuts,
oh
and Alex
wow.
Winter, and yeah, a lot of people were there, and it was
It's like live riff tracks.
yeah, it was fun but brutal.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk a little bit more about Destroy All Neighbors, but I also want to get a little more like into in terms of inspiration because we riffed about similar stuff. Like
Mhm.
we've shared ideas back and forth over a
Yeah,
couple drinks or whatever. And I don't want to name stuff specifically because this we had some pipe dreams and stuff like that. Or like, oh, this would be a cool idea for this thing, and I was like,
yeah.
fuck that would be great. Someone should make that, and it should be you. You know.
I
Um,
know the feeling.
is there like you look back at any of your inspiration stuff? Is there any like a direct line you think between what you're working on now? Like obviously we've talked about like your emotional states and your
Mhm.
headspace and how these films are processes for that. But I'm really just trying to figure out what these ideas are. So like like tonally, like is there like, oh yeah, this idea is more is there like a I guess a genre you're leaning towards, a style you're leaning towards. Is
I, I
there?
I'm leaning. My scripts these days are just more and more madcap, like zany, like live action cartoons. They're becoming sillier and stranger. Malika Straka was kind of intentionally austere and serious. There's barely any camera movements in it. There's long takes. That's not at all how I'd make a movie now. Like I look on that with pride, but it feels like a film made by a younger guy trying to prove that he can be a serious real man, right? Like elevated horror was big then. I was trying to fit in with the bad boys and it got me nowhere because it wasn't maybe truly my whole voice. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, my my films are zanier and crazier right now. One that I'm working on right now, without saying too much because nothing's official, but it's in a mockumentary style, and it's a
Whoa.
script I'm writing for a Academy Award winning special effects artist. His name is Joel Harlow. He did all the creatures on that TV show Evil most recently, for instance.
Oh, I've heard
Uh,
great stuff about that.
the creatures are awesome in that. You can look him up, but he has some characters that he just his own characters that he's used for short films of his and his makeup tutorials. The astute internet hunter could find these characters recently as makeup tutorials he did at Monster Palooza a weekend or two ago. And he was like, I had worked on revising a script for him earlier in the year and we hit it off. So he's like, well, I have these characters. What if we come up with a way to just make a film about them and it might give us a jump start because I already have the prosthetics and the actors. So that's a thing I'm working on right now. And beyond that, I wrote an adaptation of a new book called Pop that was written by two friends of mine. And the book is a self reflexive meta comedy about how Funko Pops are evil and are destroying culture in the world, which I agree with completely. I hate those things, and I think they're reflective of just the absolute evil shit of capitalism and commercialism at its worst. And that book is very zany and weird, and my screenplay takes it even further. That's probably the closest to Alien versus Fincher, just with less masturbatorial dick jokes, because it's not about phallic-headed aliens, but about our current life. But the live-action cartoon feeling is very much there. And one of my other recent scripts that I feel like should be a no-brainer, but tell that to my manager, is I made a feature-length screenplay adaptation of Franz Kafka's unfinished first novel, America.
Oh,
Yeah, and
whoa.
so this is the book he wrote as a young man that he literally gave up writing to go on to then write the Metamorphosis and the Trial and the
Yeah.
Castle, all of which really, hit harder. But America is about it's a comedy of errors, kind of a romp about a 19-year-old German kid who's kicked out of his family home because he got the maid pregnant and brought shame on the family. So he's forced to cross the oceans to land in New York City around 1912, and he's just in this new foreign land and fucking up trying to find a job. And what's interesting about it is Kafka had never set foot in America. So he's writing this all based on his imagination and secondhand accounts from other writers. So from the very first paragraph of the book, you realize this isn't America for real. This is this like half imagined gonzo weirdo America that geographically doesn't make sense. So I took that even further in my script. And so it starts off and you're like, oh, this is 1912. But then he lands in New York City and there's neon lights and there's cyber trucks, but also peasants and farmers and vaudevillians. And so my script is every decade of America visually, culturally at once to create the chaos of all of America and how fucked up it's always been. And I take the book more or less scene for scene until about 30 pages. And then I go hog wild with it. And I go from Kafka's imagined Nightmare America into my lived experience. And I take it into very now times, if you will. But it's written to be a mixture of stop motion animation, puppetry, miniatures. It reads, if you don't know me, it reads like a $50 million film. But if you know me, you know I could do this for 15 mil or under, which still sounds like a lot of money, but for a film like this, for someone else, wouldn't be. Like imagine Bram Stoker's Dracula, that film, but way more handmade. That's what I'm going for. So these are the things I'm in right now, and I think especially right now, Kafka's America should be a no-brainer sell. It is IP. It's in the public domain even. It went into the public domain about 2 years ago. And to anyone listening out there who actually might be an eccentric person with money to fund something, I'm right here. I I think it should be sent out more. Wink, wink, wink. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah. It sounds very prevalent where we are now. So
fucking A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. On the one hand, yeah, that sounds incredible. I want to see that. I want to see you get to make that. And two,
Me too.
thank you for talking about budget because everyone always thinks like, oh, you need like, yes, you need money to pay people, and then we should be pushing
Yeah.
for people to get paid better.
mhm.
On the other hand, well, it's the same hand still, but it's like,
Yeah.
maybe you don't need $100 million to make something. Maybe You just know how to shoot it and plan it out, and then
Yeah.
it's not gonna be
Yeah.
$15 million, thirty
That's what
million
I,
dollar
yeah,
production.
I like, and
Yeah.
I come from a stop motion animation background. I've worked in practical effects. I was a stop motion animator and assistant painter at Gabe Bartolos's shop off and on for about half a decade before he did Malika Straka and Destroy All Neighbors for me. So I kind of have an idea of how these things would get made, and it's the sort of thing like if anyone just asked me, like they're like, oh, I don't know, this reed's very expensive. I keep telling you, like, there's a way we could do this. Look at my shorts. Look at what I'm doing with stop motion, with puppetry. And this goes for anyone. Also, like, I've never wanted things to look real. I want them to look interesting. So it's a big difference. And yeah, it's still a lot of money to get made. And again, not everyone's lucky enough to have a eccentric, wealthy aunt out of the blue like I did, right? I fully admit that. But even so, we all got friends who know what's what. Like, I don't know, get the right people around you. Get animators or miniaturists or just I don't know where I'm going with this, but there are ways we can't wait around for the cavalry, right? So to say, and the film industry is imploding, and honestly the film industry as it was died like 20 years ago, and we've just been holding on to it for dear life in Hollywood especially, but it's not going to get any better. But the flip side of this is if everything continues to go towards digital and AI for a bit, I don't think AI will be the end all be all. It will eat its own tail and sputter out. But in this weird part now, we'll lean into making handmade all the more. Learn how to market yourself. Oh, this is a boutique film. This was made by hand. This was all filmed for real. Bah, 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 bah. It's
Hmm.
bullshit. And we shouldn't have to do that. But man, I don't know. I'm rambling here, but
No, no, no. It's making some good points because
yeah,
yeah, I don't know if the AI industry could withstand so many copyrights and copyright strikes and the energy it
yeah.
needs to like make AI is
AI is
you
so stupid, and I see the people who've leaned into it hard, and they're all horrible. I'll just say that
yeah.
straight up. Now, before I get called a hypocrite, was slight early AI used in Destroy All Neighbors? Uh-huh. And were we called out on that by one or two really angry people on Letterboxd? Yeah. And again, other people would be too scared to say this, but so yeah, we barely had the budget to make Destroy All Neighbors, and this was what 3 years ago it was shot, so AI was in its infancy. And for a couple of the record covers, early AI was used and then sent to our artists and then digitally manipulated further in text and stuff. And so a couple candy people spotted that and like, yeah, but I had no control over this, so it's not like they're yelling at me. But I think it was a tool that could have been done well, but of course it was used by bullshit artists, and the worst people took it over and are using it to dumb down society. And yeah, I regret that we used it at all, but I'm just, for the record there, yeah. So before
Yeah.
anyone's like, oh, you hypocrite. Also, if anyone yells at me, I was one of three writers. I didn't direct this. I had no control over anything. And you could just yell at Shutter if you want. But then why should you? Their hearts are in the right place too,
Yeah.
even if they're fighting the good fight against no money and no time.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that you said that because on a couple hands, we talk about like Shutter and the how this became a feature film. I'd like to
Yes,
get into the
yes.
nitty-gritty of that, but also, look, I fiddled around with no modern versions of AI, but what were they called? It was some like app you would like filter a photo
Yeah,
through and
yes.
whatever, and that's like
I think it
basically
was
the
like
same
Lenza. I
technology. What
That
was it called, Gene?
sounds
think it was called Lenza.
that sounds probably right.
Yeah, this is probably right, right? And that
So
was
it's really
fun for
early
me,
where
but
you could
I didn't
write.
know.
Yeah, yeah. None of us knew. I remember I wrote like Salacious Crumb giving a 1964 presidential campaign speech, and it spit out this horrible black and white. I was like, haha, that's funny. And now it's destroyed the world. So whoops.
Yeah, 10 years ago, it was me plugging in these photos and be like, "Oh, look, isn't that cool? It looks like this was hand drawn," and
Yeah.
like not thinking anything of that. And then now
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, this is destroying the planet. We should
Yeah.
stop it before it stops us." And like you said, it does look like it's going to eat its own tail.
Mhm.
But with such a handmade film like Destroy All Neighbors as well,
Yeah, I
like
mean, we went as practical as we could. Practical sets, practical prosthetics. Like Alex Winter was in like 30, 40 pounds of prosthetics most of the time. And yeah, the only green screen really was when he becomes giant at the end, and that was for
Mhm.
compositing. And we had people yell at us about that too. And it's like, well, again, yeah, boy, it would have been better if we had the budget we needed to make this. Uh, but yeah, we that was also one of the reasons it took so long to get made is because of its throwback tone, and that we wanted to do it practically because that made it more expensive. And
Yeah.
also, no one wanted a horror comedy, and they almost never do. When we first were shopping it around Los Angeles 10 years ago, we were rejected from everywhere we sent it to. And what we got was nobody wants a horror comedy. This is too gross to be funny, or this is too funny to be scary. And the main note beyond all that was this is very 80s feeling, and no one likes the 80s. No one makes films or TV shows about the 80s anymore, which was doubly annoying because it's not set in the 80s, it's set in current day Los
Mm,
Angeles. It just has a throwback feel, but also
yeah.
no one likes stuff about the 80s. This was before Stranger Things came
Yeah.
out, and that changed everything. That's how old this script was. It's pre Stranger Things. So,
That's
That's
wild.
that's
That's
such an
such
unfortunate hill
that's
you guys had to climb for that.
yeah,
That's
that's
fucking
such a
ridiculous.
stereotypical studio executive note too.
yeah. And so, yeah, the script died on the vine, and that's why I went on to focus on Malika Straka, and that's why the director, Josh Forbes, he went on, he does music videos, and he spent most of the decade of while trying to get Destroy All Neighbors made, he was filming a large scale documentary on the 1980s comedian Gallagher, and he's finished that, and that started to go to film festivals. But pretty much, yeah, the we wrote it and developed it. We got Jonah aboard. Nobody gave a shit. It just died on the vine, and what oddly enough resurrected it was the pandemic. It was the quarantine. So during the quarantine, Jonah, as we all were, there was nothing to do except go out for walks more with masks on. So he's walking around in his neighborhood more, and he started recognizing Alex Winter on the street. Turns out they were neighbors, quote unquote, in the neighborhood, and they kind of recognized each other. So they kind of drummed up a friendship, a kind of, oh, hey, passing on the street, talking 6 feet away from each other. And then shortly into their friendship on the street, Bill and Ted 3 came out, and there's a sequence where Alex Winter is a future alternate version of his character who's been in prison for years and is fully buffed out
Yeah.
muscle man. And Jonah's watching this. And he's like, oh shit, Alex Winter still likes acting in crazy prosthetics like he did back in the 90s and Freaked. Holy shit, what if he played Vlad? What if he was the main villain in the piece? Which, Vlad was initially written to be this like 7 foot tall hulking beast. Jonah is over 6 feet tall himself. Alex Winter is shorter than me. Okay, so it was like, oh, this could be an even funnier inverse. So he emailed the script and to Alex and kind of explained the situation. And Alex Winter was a little skeptical at first. He's like, this sounds interesting, but prosthetic acting is a lot of work. Let me read it. Let me think about it. He took about a week to read it and think about it, and then decided he wanted to do it and that we could say his name was attached. And a week or two later, Shutter bought it because they liked Alex Winter so much, and his street cred saved the film from nothing or nothingness, like obscurity. It got made entirely because of Alex Winter's involvement. He was the guardian angel that got the film made, and he ended up not just acting in it, but helping produce it as well as further developing the script for his character and for Jonah, and the rest is history.
Wow.
I
All right.
love
Well,
that
shout out
story.
Jonah Ray. Shout out Alex Winter. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very uncanny just the way you could just meet someone on
It's
the
wild,
street
and
too.
I mean, even eerier or uncannily for me, like one of the films that made me, right, as a kid was Freaked. I was obsessed with Freaked, and it, yeah, my writing style, my comedic writing style owes a lot to Freaked. And so the fact that I wrote a film in that sort of insane comedy style to the point that Alex Winter wanted to do it, it's like this weird full circle moment for me.
Yeah, and I'm someone who didn't like get to catch that movie until very recently because
Hmm.
it was very difficult to come by. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
that you saying that and me seeing that movie, it's like okay, there's a lot of
yeah.
pieces clicking together here
You can
now.
tell, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
excited. Freaked is coming out in the 4K restoration later this year in theaters and 4K Blu-ray, which is exciting because yeah, it'll be great to see. It looks so good. And then yes, Destroy All Neighbors is coming out It comes out officially like in stores July 29th, but you can pre-order it now through the Vinegar Syndrome website, which is exciting. Half my collection, film collection, is Vinegar Syndrome already. So to have a film I was a writer on in like physically like on the shelf, it's awesome. I'm very happy about
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I love Vinegar Syndrome. They're, of the niche labels that promote like great cinema, they are maybe among the niches. But my God, they got a treasure trove just waiting for
It's
everyone to
so
catch
good. It's
on.
so good.
Yeah.
I have a coming soon in the mail there 4K of Let's Scare Jessica to Death, which I'm excited about because I love that film. One of the best titles ever and one of the most moody East Coast Massachusetts hippie horror films. I want to live in that old house there so bad. Yeah.
For me and listeners of the retrospective, I picked up the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray of Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Ooh, oh, I don't know that one.
Oh
Okay.
my
Bruce
God.
Yeah,
Willis.
I'll have to check it
Oh
out. Yeah.
my God. Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah.
I will take it to you
Okay.
if you don't get
Yeah.
it. It's a rough watch. It's
Okay.
Norman Mailer.
Oh.
He
Okay.
wrote
Yeah.
wrote and directed it. It's it's not great, and I'm not like, oh, it's so bad, it's good. Like I'm not irony poisoning it, but it is a very entertaining watch. Like you do kind of have to see it to believe the line deliveries. It sort of feels like what
Interesting.
someone
Yeah.
who like an alien saw David Lynch movies and was like, "Oh, this is what
Oh
humans
wow.
do,"
Okay.
and then they transmitted that into this production.
Wild.
Yeah, that is a wild fucking movie. Everyone go watch that, then go check out the retrospective I did on it a couple years ago because that.
Cool.
Oh my God, that
Self
movie.
promotion. Let's
Yeah,
help promote that.
yeah. Shout out Isabella Rossellini, who
Oh, nice.
is
I saw her
giving a
once
performance.
in LA. She was at the premiere of something she was in at the ArcLight, and I saw her on the red carpet, and it was
Oh
very
wow.
exciting.
Oh my God.
R.I.P. the ArcLight, right? Like, when is that ever going to?
Uh, mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fucking
maybe
I
never.
maybe never. But you know what? They haven't gotten rid of the Cinerama Dome, so
true. Yeah, they
there's
can't. I
yeah.
It's a landmark. Yeah, they can't get rid of it.
Hope springs eternal. Maybe Tarantino can buy that as well, and also
I
make it
hope. Yeah.
only film because it has to be on film. I'm so anti that it's beyond belief. But I feel like I've grumped enough. We don't have to go into that. But thanks a
That's
lot,
all right.
Tarantino.
No, no, no. I mean, there's just
Celluloid
it's a
isn't king.
conversation. Yeah.
Story is king. And when he made the Vista go all, it took away the Vista ever being able to be for local filmmakers or for short film festivals or like it used to be.
Yeah.
Like it's. I
Secret
just think
movie
it's.
club
I
used to be
just
there.
I used to go to that often. Anyway, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But I
No, no,
just think
I think
it's
that's actually that's related to this. I think it's
mm,
important because it's like, okay, you got these people saying, just go out and make your movie. You're right. With what money? What
yeah.
fucking resources do you have? And so if people like Tarantino who want to preserve like the sanctity of film, whatever. I love film. I obviously shoot film as well when I can,
I
but it's
agree.
like,
Film looks the best. I love it. If I could shoot on film, if I had the money to do it, I would, but I don't, and most people don't.
yeah.
And
And it's like, yeah, what is he doing to supplant that for the next generation? What he's taking
he doesn't
something
give a
away.
shit
Yeah.
about the next
Of
generation.
course he doesn't. No.
I would take a remastered 4K DCP over watching an old print or even a new print almost any day because I've seen enough bad reel changes in my time. I've seen scratched up things. With that being said, a brand new struck 70 millimeter print in like Grauman's Chinese or something, glorious, beautiful. If you got the right people who know what they're doing, but I've seen enough film presentation gone wrong that I don't know. Like you see the cigarette burn show up and I cross my fucking fingers.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you'll like this. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I got to
Mm.
watch Blade Runner and Alien at a double feature at the New
Ooh,
Beverly. And
okay.
it was the director's cuts, which were newly struck prints back in like 2004 or whatever.
Nice.
And
Okay.
they only played a couple weekends at most
Wow.
back then.
Yeah.
They've been in cold storage since then.
Yeah.
And so it was like watching the movies for the first time again. It was
That's
incredible.
that's lucky because it's really a crapshoot, especially at the New Beverly, just because they sometimes show such old, rare stuff that, I mean, something if it's like a cult, nostalgic bullshit 70s or 80s film that's a little scratched up, cool. But when you get a print that's turned pink, like
Oh
I
God.
don't, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Gene, did I watch Thief with you there?
We did. Yeah, we
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
Thief. It
fucking
was
James
not a good
Caan looked
print.
like
It was
Carrot
not a good
Top.
print,
Oh, that's awful because that's
but
such a
it
beautiful. The colors of that
was
film, yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
It was nice to have said that
Yeah.
you saw it in a theater.
Well,
It was, but he
quote
looked like Carrot
unquote.
Top.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've had some
That's all
bad
I'll say.
experiences
That's all
there
I'll
over
say.
the years too, and I think I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to it's hard. And anyway, everything should have a digital option these days, period, just to make it more egalitarian or to let like one of the things the Loft does, or they're not doing at the moment because I think they're part of that ended, but like they do every month they do a short film where it's like 15 minutes or under. If you're local, you can show a film and see it on the big screen. And sometimes it's student films or teenagers, sometimes it's not. And just the concept of that, sometimes you're sitting through stuff maybe you don't want to, but I just, especially in LA, like, why would you not make it accessible to the next generation of filmmakers? I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, I wish stuff like if the Vistas did that, it's like, oh, you did your short on film, here's a free slot to show it, like whatever, something like that. And
Yeah.
friends of the show over at the Frida Cinema are pretty good
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
I know
Yeah,
those. Those are cool folks.
Hmm.
yeah, we love the Frida here.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
that
yeah.
was. I'll just say that was really funny. Like I went to the premiere. I believe it was the premiere of
Local
the
premiere, at least, I think.
yeah, the build out.
Hmm.
And then just randomly as I'm walking out, I'm like, oh, there's Charlie. What whoa. Small
Yeah,
world.
I've been friendly with those filmmakers since, well, Film Quest. I think we were all there at the same year back in 2018. And the editor of the build that was the editor of Malakastraka, Matt Latham. So it's all interconnected.
Yeah, yeah. I got to meet and talk with Matt. Great guy. Yeah, all the people in that community have
And
been
then
very welcoming and friendly.
my fellow college friend and filmmaker Orson Oblowitz ended up shooting a film at that theater called oh God, what was it called? Like The
Mhm.
Last Theater or The
Mhm.
Last. Am I saying that right? My brain is such mush. But yeah, a showdown at the Grand, which was filmed at the theater as if it was like one of the last remaining old school theaters in town. They're fighting against the wealthy people trying to buy it out. Yeah. Cool theater. That's a classy
It's pretty
theater.
great.
Yeah, classic narrative for that as well. It's
Yes,
the kind of
yeah.
thing you can't really go wrong with, and for the better. It's maybe it's a message we need to hear now
Hmm.
more than ever. Um,
Hmm.
but we don't have to diverge into that. Charles, thank you so much
Hmm.
for coming on the show. I mean, is there anything else you
Man, I
wanna
don't know.
plug, talk about?
I feel like I plugged all my, well, they're not even official, but what I'm working on and hopefully
Hmm.
will get made. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I've yelled about stuff enough. I don't know. This felt pretty
No,
all-ranging.
yeah, no, it's been really cool to pick your brain.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Y-
of course.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Where can the people find you online?
Yeah, I'm at Inherent Charlie on Blue Sky, and then C Piper Pieper on Instagram. And then, I mean, if they just search Charles Piper, I'm the first one who shows up. And woe unto all the other people who share my name, because I dominate the image field pretty weirdly on Google. So,
No, you're a lucky man. Well deserved, but lucky man, because there's a lot of other Diego Crespos out there holding on
oh
to some
no,
shit, and
sure,
they
yeah.
don't post. Also, that's what fucking
There's
pisses me
that
off. This has
No,
the
that,
always bothered
hacks.
me.
mm,
It's like they're just
Yeah,
holding on to it. Like, go away.
that is annoying.
the
Mm,
hacked Instagram account too
Yeah,
still has that.
yeah, it's
huh,
still up. It's like Instagram won't take it down. What is that?
Selling NFTs or something.
Is it now?
bizarre.
Oh my God.
Mm,
Sorry. No one sees it anymore. It's fine. It's fine. I'm still working on getting that down. But Charles, thank you so much for joining us again. Links down to everything
yeah,
relating to Charles below. I'll just all of it. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. I miss
yeah.
having you around here, but I'm glad to see you're doing well. And
Yeah, come to Tucson anytime, seriously.
yeah, oh, I will
Take you
definitely
up.
take you up on
Hell
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Gene, plugs. What do you got?
Yeah, no, just find me on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram G9892. So yeah, give me a follow
Yeah.
there.
All right, and then links to my stuff. You can just get it through the Waffle Press. Check out the Waffle Press is on Blue Sky. I'm
Hmm.
on Blue Sky, but I just kind of post on the account. So just go follow the podcast account there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We have been professionally unprofessional.